Hello and welcome to Johnny's Prime with me, Ernest Timino. Our headlines this hour. President Akufo-Addo breaks his silence on the controversial E-levy policy, describing it as an innovative fiscal measure to expand the country's tax base and generate revenue as government comes under increasing pressure from labor unions for pay hikes.
An opportunity for every Ghanaian to contribute towards nation building. The proposed E-levy is one such innovative fiscal measure.
The country's broke economy may trigger a coup, words of the Dean of the Faculty of Law at the University of Ghana, who says government's only option now remains the E-levy, but not in its current form.
A big part of why certain coups succeed and others fail is the economy. What is the state of Ghana's economy today? At the level of the most irreducible idiomaticity, Ghana is broke.
We'll hear from him and others as they advocate a review of the 1992 Constitution. A kangaroo court supervising a sham process. That's how FixTheCountry campaigner Oliver Bakavomawo retorted in court today in heated exchanges with a judge hearing his case.
Judge asked the lawyers to restrain him from speaking, and that if he has any concerns, he should let the lawyers speak for him. Mr. Bakavomawo replied, "We have not asked for bail. This is a kangaroo process. The bench has not covered itself in glory. I am not going to glorify a sham."
Coming up in business, it does not get any better for the Ghana Cedi. It is now the worst among the worst performing currencies in Africa. We'll find out the implications.
Thirdly, we are going to end the year with the Cedi at more than $7 cedis to $1 US.
And later in the bulletin, 16,000 persons on the streets live with severe mental illness. You have details of a survey by the Ghana Health Service, which puts the cost of mental health at 7% of Ghana's GDP. Thanks for choosing us. We are a home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Stay tuned for details. And Johnny's Prime is live on DSTV, channel 421, GoTV 144. We are streaming on all our social media platforms, including YouTube. Now, President Akufo-Addo has justified the need for Parliament to pass the electronic transaction bill, describing it as an innovative fiscal measure to expand the country's tax base. According to the President, the country cannot continue to rely on foreign aid and grants in the wake of the growing debt situation. This is the first time the President has spoken about the controversial E-levy. Delivering the keynote address at the National Labour Conference at Kwewunkwetia in the Eastern Region, President Akufo-Addo noted that to wean the country off aid, there's the need to expand the tax base of the country to include the working class.
We have to make concerted efforts as partners to hasten our recovery from COVID-19 by finding intelligent ways of bringing everyone on board to contribute their quota, no matter how small. Government, on its part, is implementing a policy of cutting the budgets of ministries, departments, and agencies by 20% this year as its contribution to measures to ensure fiscal consolidation. Ghana's tax to GDP ratio of 12.2% compares unfavorably with our peers the world over. The average tax to GDP ratio in West Africa stands at 18%, and indeed, the recommended ratio for ECOWAS member states is a minimum of 20%. The average for OECD countries is 34%. There is an urgent need to enhance significantly our capacity for domestic revenue mobilization to realize our development potential, create opportunities for our vibrant and dynamic youth, and deliver improved livelihoods for our fellow citizens. We cannot continue to allow less than 10%, specifically 7.8%, i.e. 2.4 million people of the population, carry the direct tax burden of 30.8 million people. We must provide an opportunity for every Ghanaian to contribute towards nation building. The proposed E-levy is one such innovative fiscal measure which will help improve our tax to GDP ratio on an equitable basis.
On its part, the Ghana Employers Association is of the view that deepening lack of trust is partly responsible for the labor agitations in the country. Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress, Dr. Anthony Yalban, lamented the poor working conditions of Ghanaians attributable to the prevailing economic conditions.
The system in the public service must be fair. In the private sector, many workers have lost their jobs. Others are facing job and income insecurity. The situation is worse in the mining sector, Mr. President. A few years ago, Goldfields Ghana declared over 20,000 permanent workers redundant and rehired them the next day on contract. Last month, January 2022, our affiliate, the Ghana Mine Workers Union, received a letter from Maymont, Ghana, another mining company, declaring their intention to start a redundancy exercise, and what they intend to do is not different from what Goldfields did.
The country's broke economy may trigger a coup. Those are the words of the Dean of the Faculty of Law at the University of Ghana, Professor Raymond Atuguba, who says government's only option now remains the E-levy, but not in its current form. Professor Atuguba, who was speaking at a public lecture organized by Solidaire in Accra earlier today, said concerns raised by others, including the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Badmin, that salaries of public sector workers may not be paid in the next 3 months should not be taken lightly.
In this country. Yet I fear that if we do not act quickly, we may have one in our hands very soon. A former colleague, doctoral student at Harvard, wrote his dissertation also on Ghana. He now teaches at a war college in the US. Imagine the name of the college, War College. Whilst my topic was on the Ghana police, his topic was on the Ghana military. Naturally, our paths intersected, and we have remained friends since. My friend's PhD thesis was on the topic, quote, why certain coups succeed and why others fail. His case study was Ghana. My current assessment that Ghana may be ripe for a coup partly springs from the knowledge I gained from accompanying my friend through part of his doctoral research on this topic. It does not help matters if we consider Samuel Huntington's thesis on the snowballing effect of coups in the sub-region and the closeness of recent coups to whom. I urge my good friend, the Minister of National Security, Honorable Kandapa, to have a conversation with my friend at the War College. The economy of Ghana today. A big part of why certain coups succeed and others fail is the economy. What is the state of Ghana's economy today? At the level of the most irreducible idiomaticity, Ghana is broke. Your nation is radically broke. So broke, the Speaker of Parliament has publicly warned, gavel in hand, that we may not be able to pay the salaries of public sector workers in some 3 months unless a miracle happens. The Minister for Finance has weighed in very fine and polished English. He says something like, quote, the legitimate reality is that there is no money unquote. At least he has confessed to us that there are some illegitimate realities. Here, we recall the African adage, quote, if a crocodile comes out of the water and tells you that a fish is dead, do you challenge? Unquote.
Now, speaking on the way forward for the revival of the broke Ghanaian economy, Professor Tuguba admonished Ghanaians to support the passage of the controversial E-levy.
Final portion of my paper. What should we do? 3 steps for putting Ghana's economy on a firm footing for the future. In concrete terms, we need to implement the following steps in order to prevent a coup and the collapse of our economy. The first step is to pass the damn fucking E-levy bill immediately and implement it effectively. Yes, you heard me right. The E-levy is both done and a farafaka. However, to prevent the collapse of the economy and a return to the stranglehold of the IFIs, we have no choice but to pass it. As someone has noted, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will go down in history as, quote, the president of public debt, or, quote, the president of austerity, or maybe both. E-levy is the part of the presidency of austerity. The starting point for successfully passing the E-levy bill is for government to stop lying to us, the citizenry. Come clean. Confess that you had thought the job of managing the economy was simple, but that you now know better. Abate the arrogance and high-handedness. Ask the people of Ghana for forgiveness. And pray the people of Ghana that we have limited options right now. We either allow the economy to collapse and we all suffer and get back into the grips of the neo-colonial IFIs, or we use the E-levy to prevent economic recession and depression.
Now, Dean of the UPSA Law School, Professor Ernest Kofi Abochi, made a case for a review of the Constitution.
The 92 Constitution was designed to cure a problem. And that problem was the military rule from the 81 all the way to 92. The Constitution cured one fundamental problem. And the fundamental problem is that it enabled all of us to speak our minds, something that couldn't be done during the revolutionary era. Some freedoms were introduced. But as those freedoms were introduced, we lost out something. And that one thing we lost is the presence of the state that has constantly been eroded since 92. The Constitution establishes 2 spaces. The first space is the space of the state. And then the second is the political. The political space enables all of us to undertake whatever political interest we have. But then there is the state, symbolized in institutions and organs. And so the public service must be there. The organs of state and entities of state must be there regardless of government. The presence of the state is important for stability and continuity. And then politics and ideology comes and goes. Unfortunately, the state has been crowded out, and for a long time, we've had politics. That is the reason we don't seem to have anything of national interest, because the things that were supposed to be symbolized in national interest, such as economic agenda and policy, represented under the directive principles of state policy, these have been politicized. The reason Professor Tuguba's Constitution Review Commission's work has become stalled is partly because of this state politics dynamics in which the state has lost out. And so Parliament itself, which is supposed or structured to be the institution to lead reforms, has been politicized to a point. Of course, it's fundamentally a political body, we all know that. The membership is political. But it's been politicized to a point that Parliament has forgotten its constitution.
Now, Fix the Country campaigner Oliver Barker-Vormawor on Monday took on the current legal processes initiated against him. He described the case as a sham that is being supervised by a kangaroo court. This happened when the case of treason felony filed against him came for hearing at the Ashaman District Court. His lawyers had asked a question about whether the court had the power to decide on issues affecting his liberty. Even before an answer could be provided, the youth activist described the speaker, well, he decided to speak. The magistrate ordered his removal from court, resulting in spontaneous cheers from the teeming Fix the Country group members who had massed up other courts. Joseph Akable reports.
He lifted his handcuffed hands as much as he could as the singing began when he was led into the Ashaman District Court. These lawyers, led by Justice Shemsai, first made an inquiry. They wanted to find out from the court whether it had jurisdiction to grant him any matter relating to his personal liberty. Even before the judge could respond to that particular inquiry, Mr. Barker-Vormawor took the opportunity to speak in open court. He responded by saying to the judge that we have not asked you for bail. At that point in time, the judge asked the lawyers to restrain him from speaking, and that if he has any concerns, he should let the lawyers speak for him. Mr. Barker-Vormawor replied, "We have not asked for bail. This is a kangaroo process. The bench has not covered itself in glory. I am not going to glorify a sham." At that point in time, he was whisked out of the courtroom by more than 4 police officers into a waiting van while proceedings continued.
Oliver, we love you. We stand by you. You are a hero.
Magistrate Eliano Boche ruled that the court has jurisdiction in terms of the indictment process that is currently before it, and so she asked the police prosecutors to speed up with investigations. The case was adjourned to March 15, 2022. Some of the Fix the Country members have been speaking to Joy News.
Now I think Ghanaians are beginning to realize that Oliver is for Ghana, and whatever he said was for ordinary Ghanaian. And whatever intimidations Ghanaian government, I mean Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government is doing possible to make sure that they would frustrate him, they would let him keep quiet, for him not to talk again, is getting vegan. All right, so we are going to make sure that we stand very strong and defend him in everything he's doing. But what we can say finally to all the people of this country is that the government and the people in office are doing everything possible to make sure that they keep the ordinary Ghanaian in the dark, and for whoever that rise up to enlighten the Ghanaian citizen, he will go through this. So Oliver is aware of everything that he is going through now. Today,
were you surprised he was removed from the court? He was trying to talk back to the judge and he had to be removed. He must be frustrated. I mean, you've been interacting with him. What exactly is the issue?
Oliver is a lawyer. He understands the law. Okay, so whatever he said, I think he's in the best position to explain it.
Judge, no say harm, grant in the bill. So I didn't know way up and down, harm. It is Oliver Kasetiawa. You have every right to talk. So when him say to me grant in the pan bill harm. Now way and way up and down. So I went to my Oliver ni buefu no. What the ya no ya ma we wo fe na mbebun wo bufu e wo man ni mu. Say most mo na mo ka say mbra na mo ni mo mbra. You should go according to the law. You shouldn't abuse the law. Exactly. Jamu abuse Oliver ni human rights way.
The case is back in court on March 15, 2022. For Joy News from the Ashaman District Court, my name is Joseph Akable.
You are a hero.
Away from the courts, let's do some stories on education now. And UTEC members nationwide have returned to work reluctantly despite voting overwhelmingly to reject the decision of its NEC to suspend the strike. As of now, UCC has become the latest of 10 UTEC members which have voted against the suspension of the strike. The University of Health and Allied Sciences is so far the only campus which has voted to suspend the strike. We'll bring you details of the vote shortly, but at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, the students say they hope their lecturers will not embark on another strike.
The University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, has urged its various members across the country to honor its decision to return back to classroom following an injunction secured by the National Labour Commission. However, some lecturers in certain universities are vouching not to return back to the classroom since another industrial action is in the offing. Here at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, some students are seen going to the classroom. We do not know whether there are some lectures in the classroom or not. We'll be finding out from these students what happened during class today.
Today we had introduction to agribiotech, like she said, and it was a TA that came to class. But I don't know why the lecturer didn't come down.
So are you hoping that they will return soon?
Yes, please. It's our greatest prayer, because you can't come and waste time in school like that.
Our lecturers have communicated to us that they will be present in the classroom, so we are hopeful and anticipating to have lectures today.
So there was a communique last week that you guys should return back to classroom. Was there any lecture on Friday?
Okay, personally, yes, some departments and some courses had lectures on Friday, but others couldn't hold lectures.
Me, I know the lecture won't come because I called one of my friends in UCC. She said she was supposed to have medical genetics today around 6 o'clock. They are still sitting in the class and there's no lecture. So I know the lecture won't come.
Did you meet any lecturer in class today?
Yeah, I met a lecturer in class today.
So what happened during class?
Well, he was the HOD too, so he introduced the course to us, gave us the course outline, brushed through, I think 6 of them, brushed through them and then told us how it's going to. It was a very interactive class.
Okay. So you had some students here at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. They have indicated that some lecturers are back in classroom and they are hoping that the strike will be totally called off and they will have a smooth academic year. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
Well, at the University of Ghana, students were excited to see their lecturers for the first time in a long while.
Lost everything. I couldn't remember anything when I entered class, but when he started the lectures, when I started following, I got to understand everything was. But we just pray they don't come off with this strike thing again, because we really want to.
You just saw the timetable and some notifications that they'll be starting lectures today. But early this morning, we've seen other notifications that they called off. They are not starting, so we are waiting. It's 9:30 and no lecture comes to go up. You just saw the timetable and some notification that they'll be starting lectures today. But early this morning, we've seen other notifications that they called off.
Now, UTAG says there's a lack of trust in the negotiation, which is still ongoing, but the president has assured government to do everything in its part to resolve the impasse. He spoke at the National Labour Conference in Kweu today.
I reiterate my appreciation for the relative peace prevailing on the industrial front. I know this relatively stable labor outlook did not happen by chance, but through negotiation and compromise. We therefore need to strengthen the rapport between tripartite partners for greater cooperation. This is important. In the wake of the recent 6-week strike action by the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, Ghana government is determined to find a satisfactory solution to this impasse and ensure that the academic calendar is not substantially derailed. The best form of negotiations are those in which both parties to the dispute exhibit good faith within the context of what is affordable and equitable. I continue to hope that our dons will see this in that light and help bring the impasse to an end so that the education of our young people can resume in serenity. I assure you of government's commitment to addressing your concerns at all times, and I appeal to organized labor to give enthusiastic support and cooperation to government's program of economic recovery.
My colleague Kwekwa Santi joins me via Zoom with an update on the nationwide referendum on the suspension of the strike by UTAG. Kweku, what can you tell us about the vote on the various campuses and the results so far?
And as the campuses are voting, as of now, there are only 2 campuses whose votes we are not privy to. That is GIJ and then another tertiary in the Ashanti region, Akintin tertiary. And so for the 13 out of 15 schools who have voted so far, the overwhelming 11 have voted to say that they do not want to get back to the classroom. With only 2 campuses, that is the University of Mines and Technology, UMAT in Takwa, and then the University of Health and Allied Sciences. These are the only 2 universities who have voted to accept this decision of NEC. But the overwhelming 11 universities say no. And so the information we are picking is that the NEC of UTAG, which called off the strike, will be meeting again this week to set another date for the strike. And as you know that in the University of Ghana, it was a very cagey encounter between lecturers and management. It had to take only this morning for lecturers of the University of Ghana to agree to return to work. But they made a certain point in the letter to management that the strike is going to be resumed this week. And so by Friday, what information we are getting from NEC of UTAG is that UTAG will announce a resumption of that strike because the overwhelming majority of its members do not want to call off the strike.
Okay, good. Thank you very much for bringing us those details as far as the UTAG strike is concerned and the vote by the various campuses. Now, the opposition NDC has declared its intention to resort to a series of avenues to ensure what it calls judicial fairness. The party argues that the current administration is using the court to persecute its members, citing the ongoing cases involving the national chairman of the party, Samuel Ofusampofo, former Cocoa Board CEO, Dr. Stephen Opuni, among others. General Secretary of the party, Johnson Cedi Nketia, alleges that the presiding judge in the case of Stephen Opuni versus the Republic, that is Justice Clemens Onyenuga, has demonstrated bias against Stephen Opuni, a situation he believes sharply contradicts his tenets. The party has therefore filed an official petition with the Commonwealth Office asking for the intervention over what it describes as the slippery slope of bad governance. Here's the General Secretary, Johnson Cedi Nketia.
And so, apart from this, there's a case of Dr. Kisel Atoforsen, who has been very persistent in calling government to account for financial malfeasance and making sure that if government does not account for its stewardship, then it will be difficult for the nation to contribute further resources by way of taxation to that government that has declared itself unaccountable to the citizens. From nowhere, charges have been trumped up and put on this honorable member and is now, before the courts. If you take the case of media practitioners, Commonwealth believes in right to information, freedom of the media, and so on. Now, all the indications about media practice in Ghana is that media is being harassed and clamped down. You have a situation where in one soup, more than 100 radio stations were closed down selectively because it is the belief that these radio stations were not singing the praises of government. So having stated this, the particulars of our appeal is this, that the actions of the government of Ghana create conditions that threaten Ghana's political stability and further erode our democratic values. It is very unfortunate that after riding on the high horse and banner of a human rights activist, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has become a democratic despot who brooks no opposition. The petitioner believes that in line with the objectives of the Commonwealth of Nations and the Harare Declaration, it is appropriate that we address this petition to this honorable body. The persecutions, threats, and killings of supporters of members of NDC violate the values and objectives of the Commonwealth and will create conditions that will threaten and jeopardize the peace and security of Ghana.
You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Mino. Still to come in business, it does not get any better for the Ghana Cedi. It is now the worst among the worst performing currencies in Africa. We'll find out the implications.
We are going to end the year with the Cedi at more than $7 cedis to $1 US.
And later in the bulletin, 16,000 persons on the streets live with severe mental illness. We have details of a survey by the Ghana Health Service, which puts the cost of mental health at 7% to Ghana's GDP.
One called Bongo. I have come.
Yeah, welcome to business. I'm Charles Aiti. The Cedi has been classified as the worst African currency with the worst spot returns tracked by Bloomberg. This follows a depreciation of 8.86% to the US dollar. Meanwhile, the Executive Director of the Center for Economics and Inequality Studies, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, says the current trend will cost the country more in terms of interest payment on loans. He, however, calls for the Bank of Ghana's intervention to avert further worsening of the situation.
Our credit rating on the market now will not make it possible for us to contract these loans at the previous rate that we had there. It's going to be expensive. Expensive means that we have to pay more by way of interest servicing. And that is what we are also trying to avoid currently. So we just have to hope and wait that the market will normalize a bit before we go onto the market to borrow.
Speaking about hope, you deal with the numbers. Looking at the crystal ball, where do you see the Cedi's performance in the medium to long term ending this year, considering what has happened in the very first 2 months of this year?
Yeah, for now, we have crossed the 7 mark on the retail market. And if you look at the difference in the interbank rates and what the forex market is telling us, definitely we are going to end the year with the Cedi at more than $7 cedis to $1 US. Again, between now and December is such a long time that if you're able to get the injections from BOG, if you're able to get some support locally in terms of cleaning our books as a country, from where we are sitting, we believe that the speculative attack on the currency will be reduced a bit. Even though the Cedi will depreciate, it will not be as fast and as high as it has been in the past 2 months. We are not going to see a slow pace. But as for the 7 cedis to $1, we still believe that come the year end, the Cedi will be trading at that to the US dollar.
Away from that, Ghanaians are being entreated to embrace clay-molded products to address the prevalent housing deficit in the country. According to the Chief Operations Officer of FlexiClay Ghana, Thelma Esuturi, the usage of clay is cost-effective and durable, hence the need to invest in clay products. We have more in this report.
At the opening of the Flexi Clay Products Ghana Okponglo branch, Chief Operations Officer Thelma Esuturi said clay products have the ability to control relative humidity. According to her, there is the need to invest in clay products, pointing out to the installation, which is done with non-acrylic adhesive that makes the product grip firmly to the wall.
We like to tell people that FlexiClay is very affordable because if you look at the overtime cost of either painting and or using the towels, with this it comes with a lifetime warranty. you don't ever need to paint again. So it saves you that overtime cost of painting and of course the labor cost and everything. So basically with this you don't need to paint. It has a waterproof advantage, it has a fireproof advantage, it's a green product, it's free of all volatile organic compounds, it is harmless, it is breathable.
A Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, Abdullahi Abanga, said government will consolidate its partnership with the private sector to help address the rising housing deficit.
Definitely we are in the planning stages. The ministry is in the planning stages. We are discussing with the developers. So very soon, at the right time, the president, the ministry, the minister will release the details of the program for all Ghanaians to get the message. It's all supposed to feed into the supply of housing to reduce the housing deficit. We are doing this in partnership with the private sector. The policy of the ministry now is not to go into producing the houses by ourselves, but to rather partner with other developers in the private sector.
Flexi clay products come in marble, stone, wood, leather, and brick finishing.
The project director for the Implementers and Yamuranta Labs program, Kafui Prebi, is entreating young people to take advantage of technology to expand the economy. According to him, this will aid in providing more skills for the youth and fight against unemployment in the country. He made these statements at the robotics competition held in Accra Digital Center, of which we have more in this report.
The maiden edition of the annual Impact Roundtable discussion and robotics competition showcased the good work done by the Helping Africa Foundation with the Yamuranza Model Labs program to impact the lives of students. It is to help students sharpen their critical thinking skills and provide practical knowledge of information technology and robotics. Here's Project Director for the Implementers and Yamuranza Labs program, Kafui Prebi.
For the past 5 years, we've been working in 10 regions and we've installed over 10 of these technology centers across the country. So we brought this platform together for the young ones to be able to network amongst themselves, have a competition, and to see the impact of the work that is happening. The technology started, with just computers, and now we've added robotics, Maker 6 equipment, programming, and all those tools. This is to make sure that the kids are prepared for the first 21st century skills. Jobs of the 21st century are going to be based on STEM, and so this is a platform that brings together the youth of Ghana, and currently we're working also in Gambia to make sure that they are prepared for the 21st century, jobs or skills that are required to survive.
A founding member of the Ghana Robotics Academy Foundation, Dr. Yao Okwekuyo-Nchi, said that 9,000 students have been trained in acquiring skills in the information technology and robotics field, and they therefore look forward to expand it.
Over the past 11 years, we have managed to train about maybe 9,000 students across the country in all of the regions, particularly the previous 10 regions, and we have been able to get students to represent Ghana in international competitions with the World Robot Olympiad as well as the RoboFest World Championship. As many people know, we have won the World Championship twice, in 2019 and in 2020, as well as done so well in many other competitions. For us, that is even just the icing on the cake. The main thing is seeing our kids perform a lot better in the regular subjects in maths, science, and all of the other related subjects.
This year's program is under the theme complementing government's effort to promote STEM education in Ghana, the role of the Yamuranza Model Labs program.
And that'll be it for business. We have sports coming up. Do stay with us.
Thank you for staying with us on the news. Time now for the sports. I'm Gary L. Smith. And we begin with a story that broke just a couple of hours ago. Russian football clubs and national teams have been suspended from all competitions organized by FIFA and UEFA after the country's invasion of Ukraine. Now, the world and European football governing bodies say Russia will be banned until further notice.
The move comes after International Olympic Committee recommended that Russian and Belarusian athletes and officials are banned from any organized international competitions. It means the Russian men's team will not play their World Cup playoff matches next month, and the women's team have been banned from this summer's European Championship. Sparta Moscow have also been kicked out of the Europa League, while UEFA has ended its sponsorship with Russian energy giant Gazprom. FIFA and UEFA have decided to take action after Russia supported by Belarus, launched their military invasion of neighboring Ukraine last Thursday. Prior to FIFA and UEFA's decision, Poland, Sweden, and Czech Republic had already issued a joint statement refusing to travel to Russia for the 2022 World Cup playoffs next month. The three nations were in Part B alongside Russia, competing for one of Europe's final 3 places at the World Cup in Qatar next winter. Poland were due to face Russia in Moscow in the first semi-final on March 24, with Sweden and Czech Republic also going head-to-head in Stockholm in the other game later that day.
So for some reaction, I spoke to a Polish journalist, and I remember that all this started when last week Poland, Czech Republic and Sweden told FIFA that they were not going to play with Russia in the qualifiers. Maciej Kalishuk, who works for the Sports Review newspaper in Poland, was confident that FIFA was going to crack the whip.
They are ready to this, but I'm pretty sure that it's not going to happen. The pressure on FIFA will be so huge that I'm sure that finally FIFA will exclude Russia from World Cup playoffs. I can't imagine that Russia will qualify to the World Cup without playing one single game because other opponents refuse to play against it. FIFA, I'm sure that FIFA will finally make a decision that Russia is excluded from playoffs. So I don't think that there is a risk for Poland that our team will not take part in World Cup playoffs. It's just the question how this issue will be solved, against which team will play. But I'm sure that Poland will not lose in this situation.
So the saga continues. Now we are just 4 days away from this year's President's Cup between Heart of Oak and Asante Kotoko at the Accra Sports Stadium. Now the two heavyweights go head-to-head on the 4th of March in a game in honor of President Akufo-Addo. Chairman of the Ghana League Clubs Association, Kujo Fiano, has justified his outright decision to settle on the two sworn rivals, despite concerns by a number of Ghana Premier League clubs, including Great Olympics.
We are lucky enough that the presidency and Ghana have agreed to use the President's Cup to roll off activities marking the 65th anniversary of Ghana's independence. So if we want to present something worthwhile to the president, we can only present our El Clasico to him.
Yeah, because
and also draw his mind to the fact that yes, in as much as we want to build a Black Stars, we need to empower the local league. I kept asking a budget of 25 million for the Black Stars AFCON World Cup. I can imagine what $5 million could do for the league. We want to have a chat with our old man as we watch the game. We will chat. It's like you want to woo a beautiful lady. You invite her to the pub. You sit around. So the old man will be there on Friday. I will have the opportunity to sit. I will plead with him. As we watch the game, we chat. Old man, there's a need for you to throw the searchlight on the local game. And it's so amazing. When you meet the politicians, they always refer to the Babayaras, the Mfums, the Agrifins, the Abidipeles, the Tony Awas. These were not players who came from heaven. They were Ghanaian players. And we believe that we can produce a lot more. So Friday, and the exciting thing is that there was this Okujeto report that said Hearts and Kotoko should not play in the evenings. A lot of water has passed under the bridge. We think that we should break that ice.
Right, so that's it for the sport for the moment. We'll be back tomorrow to do some more. In the meantime, all the breaking news stories, you know where to find them. They're myjoyonline.com. I'm Gary Al Smith. Thank you for your time.
And it's now time for the latest in showbiz, and Becky's here.
Every time.
Good to have you
here.
on a Monday.
Good to have you too. Oh, you're the one having me.
All right, so what do you have for us?
You know, I was waiting for you to say something about my looks. Then I saw me on TV.
Well, you asked me not to.
Something.
You asked me not to comment about your black dresses anymore, and so.
So you can't, you know, comment about my face or my hair.
I like your lipstick.
Thank you.
Yeah, very red and standing out. And my producer wants me to say something. I really cannot say it.
Well, they're asking you to say something terrible about me, but it's all right. No. I have the news. I have all the news. Let's talk about the news. Let's talk about Lord. Yeah. Lord, formerly of No Tribe. He was on The Reason with Jesus.
With a big voice.
With a big voice, and he's been talking about how. He got really affected when he decided to exit the group. It's the first time he's talking about this. It was very emotional. And he says that it wasn't about money as speculated. It was actually a decision that Nasi took, and he couldn't do anything about it.
I see he's really affected by this.
Yeah,
his demeanor and everything.
He is. Yeah. But I mean, well, he's
sometimes you have to make decisions, you know.
Yeah, you just have to.
Well, like I'm going to part ways with you very soon.
Why you're going to marry?
Notice.
You're going to marry somebody else.
What's the next story, Becky?
Oh no! Don't do that to me.
I've served you
on national television. I'm about to tell you a story.
Well, that's exactly what Nasi did to Bonzi.
Okay.
Just walked.
Let's talk about Emilia Brobe. Well, she's been talking about the. You just made me so emotional. You broke my heart.
I'm so sorry. Let's talk about Emilia.
So Emilia is talking about, you know, the Ghanaian movie industry. She says that it's a space that is wonderful, and she thinks that it's the only space that really or actually gives out, you know, real entertainment and also impacts lives positively.
It's a great place to be. It's a great space. It will only be a great space if you are passionate about the acting, and if you be serious with it, and if you look at the business aspect of it. I act because I love acting, but I act because I want to make money out of it. And I act because I think it's a space that we get a chance to let people laugh. We get a chance to educate them. We get a chance to let them know that in this world, whatever you are watching on TV or whatever movie you are watching, it is supposed to teach you a lesson.
Do you believe that you're a great actress, you know, personally, when you look, because, well, all these things are they are a testament that you are, they've recognized you, but yourself, because the way people talk about you, or moving, or China, I say, or trying to say you're real, you know, because we know that is make believe. But personally, when you sit back and you think about you as an actress, what do you make of yourself?
Well, like I said, I am passionate about everything I do. So when I get a role, what comes into my mind first is I need to make them believe.
Becky, thank you for bringing us Showbiz.
Anytime.
And if you're watching us on Joy Prime, that's it for the bulletin. Many thanks for your company. If you're enjoying this, you have more stories for you. Please don't go. And those are excerpts of our latest hotline documentary, Mind Matters. The full documentary airs at 8:30 p.m. right after this bulletin. Now, Kofi Eje of our research desk joins me in studio with details of a survey released by the Ghana Health Service on mental health. Kofi,
exactly.
Where do we start from?
So, Ernest, let's start with this staggering figure where we have 10% of Ghana's population suffering from all forms of mental illnesses, and this is about 3.1 million of the projected 31 million population.
So 3.1 million people are projected to be suffering from mental health, various mental health diseases.
And this is very sad, about 10% of the entire population. Now the next slide talks about the number of we are talking about the other. So the next slide talks about those who are suffering from moderate or distress or mild, severe mental health disease. This is about 41%. And so this psychological distress, which is either mild, moderate or severe. And this is more than the 10% figure.
Okay, so this is 41% of the 31 million population.
The 10% is a subset of this, actually.
Okay.
So if you broaden the scope, it means that those who are suffering from psychological distress, either mild or moderate or severe, that's about 41%. And in it you can find those, the 10% in there.
Okay.
So the next slide also talks about the number of people on streets suffering from various, forms of mental illness. This is 16,000.
16,000 people, and we see them all over the place, don't we? Many of them all over the streets of Accra and major cities around the country. 16,000.
16,000. This is a very worrying figure. We can have, this number of, human beings, suffering from citizens actually, 16,000, and this is very sad. So let's talk about the costs. Mental health. What's the cost to us as a nation? This cost us about 7% of our GDP, and in real terms, Ghana's GDP is projected at about $78.5 billion in a year. So 7% will be somewhere around $5.5 billion dollars.
And that's how much it's costing us.
Exactly, that's how much we are losing. As a result of several forms of mental, illnesses. That's 7% of our GDP.
Okay.
Now let's look at this. This is number of deaths as a result of mental health.
Okay.
And we've been tracking this from 2008 to the latest figure, which is 2017. And you could see the trend from 169 in 2008 to 329 in 2017.
An upward trajectory.
An upward, continuous upward, trajectory of the number of people dying as a result of various mental illnesses. And this, if you sum this will be like over 2,000 lives that we've lost, precious lives as a result of mental health. And this is something that we need to really address.
Very sad statistics there. And this is details we're getting from the Ghana Health Service survey on mental health. Thank you very much, Kofi, of our research desk, bringing us those details there. And of course, you don't want to miss that hotline documentary, which is right after this bulletin, Mind Matters. Now, the Volta region has recorded 42 maternal deaths in 2021, though making strides in 83 health indicators and 4 key milestones. The Regional Director of Health, Dr. Timothy Lecha, made this known, called for stakeholders' approach to enhance maternal health care delivery in the region. He was speaking at the 2021 Annual Performance Review in Ho.
The Volta Regional Director of Health, Dr. Timothy Lecha, explained that the region recorded 4.0 in 2021 after the peer review assessment against 3.6 in 2020, adding that all 4 key milestones were achieved.
In the year under review, all the 4 key milestones were achieved with distinction in the Volta region. I am elated to announce to all and sundry, especially our supportive stakeholders and the entire region, that the Volta region saw its highest jump since the inception of the peer review assessment, as we move from 3.6 to 4.0 in the year 2021. Prof. Chair, although we are performing above the national target for institutional maternal mortality ratio, neonatal mortality rate, and stillbirth rate, the trend analysis shows that we have stagnated. 42 women losing their life from pregnancy-related illnesses in 1 year is still unacceptable. A consistent multi-stakeholder approach is required to further push down these mortalities.
A member of the Ghana Health Service Council, Harrison Kofi Abutiate, urged the service to make operational and effective the several policies developed and grieved the perception of poor customer service at public health facilities.
Professor Chairman, in spite of the good job being done by gallant health workers, greater efforts are still needed to improve the public image of the service. We believe that we have made more progress in enhancing the public image of the service by removing the perception of poor customer service.
Now, the Ghana Blind Union has petitioned government through the Education Ministry for visually impaired students to be included in the various education reforms in the country. They argue the country's quest to enhance its educational development will be more holistic and inclusive if the digital devices are provided to equip visually impaired students. Executive Director of the union, Dr. Peter Obeng Asamoah, presented the petition at the launch of the Accessible Blind Book campaign. Mausi Numon has the rest of the story.
Of the Sustainable Development Goals aspires to provide all people with access to education and encourage lifelong learning opportunities in the quest to eliminate educational gaps. But Ghana is yet to achieve this, especially for persons with disability. In this regard, the Ghana Blind Union is requesting for all visually impaired students in the country to be given equal learning opportunities.
And all learners with disability, I'm presenting this petition and we are calling upon the ministry to listen to it and pay rapt attention, give rapt attention to it. And please, please, please act on it. The Ghana Blind Union wishes to ask the Minister of Education to use your good offices to ensure the provision of audio devices to learners with vision impairment. These audio devices include those that we've just seen demonstrated. We've seen the Victor Reader or Victor Stream. We've seen the use of the tablets. We've seen the use of laptops with screen reader devices. We've seen the use of electronic braille. And there are other forms of assistive technologies. We are calling upon the Ministry of Education to ensure that these devices are provided to our learners in the school so that they will be able to access the reading materials that their sighted counterparts have and take for granted. We are talking about equal opportunities here. We are talking about leveling the playing field. We are talking about allowing blind and visually impaired learners to contribute to their own development and the development of this nation.
Deputy Education Minister John Intim-Fojo, in his response to the petition, assured the union that the ministry would explore opportunities in ensuring that their request is granted.
Now, as we enter March 2022, the Institute for Energy Securities is projecting another hike in the price of diesel and petrol at the pump. Already, some commuters are worried about the 15% increase in transport fares, describing it as harsh. My colleague Mapito Cedi has been interacting with some commuters and drivers at the Obra Sport Yard here in Accra.
Increase of fuel prices and the economic hardships that the country is facing are some of the reasons that the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council has given for the 15% increase in transport fares. I am here at the Obra, Trotro and Taxi rank, where I'm going to talk to some passengers who will be greatly affected by this.
Realize the case, how things have increased, it affects we a lot because we transfer our goods and materials. Maybe right now we are coming from the north, so we just came, realized the case, we just realized that things increase all of a sudden. So the budgets we made, everything has increased totally, and even we are stranded now. Now we are stranded, we don't know how things will go. You can see our load here.
And realize the case, we just came, the fare now is 9 cedis, but we used to board car from here 6 cedis, 50 pesos. So everything just changed. So we need to also just work it out so that things will calm down. things will come back.
How often do you do this trip, going to the north? How often?
And that's our work. We are in Tutarazo. So this traveling and traveling and traveling. So it affects us a lot. When this fare is up, it affects us.
I'm from Alajo. I take car from Alajo, coming to Circle, going to police depot, police headquarters. You see, it's too high. It's too high for me. Because look at my children, because I want to pay and then pay myself. Yeah, so it's too high. Oh, the government is supposed to, you see, because the driver, they are complaining about the fuel. Because the fuel is too high. So you should look at the thing and the thing come down so that we too, we are okay. Because it's not easy. It's not easy. Everything, because food and everything go high. So it's not easy. Look at the way I'm sweating.
Now the price is high, and you know, going to places now won't be easier. You know, yes. So it's not really helping. Yeah.
Send the drivers now drivers but me think it's a 50%, you know. Say it's good if it's good for the drivers, fine. If it's not good for them, because send a man my end baby I think.
Yeah.
It's, you know.
But what about you for the passenger, as a passenger?
As a passenger, we have to consider the drivers, because almost say petrol they be almost it's a debut almost not so much 50%. I think it's cool with me.
Yeah. There is an increment in the fuel, so definitely drivers are also going to, otherwise they will incur us, because vehicle owners are also waiting for their ends meet at the end of the day. So definitely they also have to increase the fares. And for me, I think it's normal, because you have no choice. Yes. When you wake up in the morning, you have to go to your work, and you have no choice to walk to your workplace. And my workplace is far. I work at Embassy Hotel. I cannot walk from Circle to Embassy Hotel. So definitely I have to. Yes, I have to bear with the cost. So is there anything you'd like to say to the government? Oh, for me, what I would say about this government, a lot. But me, the little thing is, they fail us, totally they fail us, because looking at all the promises, reduction in fuel prices as they use in their campaign, nothing has happened. Always there's fuel increase. Although I don't own a vehicle, but whenever you pass by a fuel station, you always see some persuasives every day increment. So
I've also been speaking to some drivers, and this is what they had to say.
Me driver no dey. Enya ma yen so ye be fa ni sa. O kan wan ka wo ka se wan ka se o. The government no be ya no be. Nti eyi we nyi o ye be fa ni sa. Nti ye nemu.
So the passengers now, are they complaining because it started on Saturday? So the passengers, what are they saying?
Passengers in the trot from on kasa bataze for no bian kasa.
I don't have a problem with that, but some of the drivers, they increase the price too much. Because we know that as a driver, they give us 15%. But some people, when you join the trot, yesterday like this, I'm traveling to Medina. From Osu to Medina, they take Cedi. Yeah. So I don't know whether...
Then how much was it?
Yeah, I think that 4 Cedi, 80 pesos. Okay. So I don't know the 15%, the calculation. Yeah. Because here our station, we are paying 4 Cedi, 60 pesos. Yeah. I don't know that the price... there's nothing we can do, because as for we belong to union. Yeah. So whatever the union can give, we don't have anything to say about it. Yeah. So that side there, I don't have problem about my side. But sometimes they have to look inside for the passengers too. Because as for them, no pay. They too, they haven't increased their salary. Yeah. So now if you have 2 children that they are going to school, this money you have to give them some, you have to increase their transportation. Yeah. So that one, they have to do something about it for the workers. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it started on Saturday. Today is Monday. What have the passengers been saying throughout the weekend?
As for here, the taxi, here the passenger, when they came, then they seized the damn board. They are not complaining. Okay. They are not complaining much, because I think that they give them information early. Yeah. So since it's Saturday like this, as for we didn't take from only today that we are starting to take this thing. Yeah.
From the Obra Churchill taxi rank, I am Mapito Cedi reporting for Joy News. Medina.
Well, according to some commuters in the Techima municipality, the increase in fares will put an additional burden on their finances. John News' Anasa Bit was at the Techima VIP bus terminal and has come through with this report.
Fuel prices at the pumps has seen sharp increases over the past few months, and this, according to commuters and drivers here at the VIP terminal in the Techima municipality, is having a negative toll on their economic activities in general. This morning we are here at the VIP terminal where we understand there's been some 15 cedis increase in its fares from Techima to Accra. Initially the fares used to be 75 cedis. Today it is 90 cedis. We are speaking with the management of this terminal to have their take on why the sharp increase in the transport fares here.
And to monitor the adosu and or say yatum Emma Mino, as who say, a Jumani a mine, but what I say, because a fool was so high. First, a young to me and Miantum, second one to me and third one much to the sense to this a fool as also and a kind of call a crying and out to Abano, when yes can be a fan to fool. But what must have not make us, and this is a Eba, and the 96 in the air said down.
We are also engaging some commuters who feel this sharp hike in transport fares will have a toll on their life in general.
Well, for the effect is huge, and the ripple effect is just there, multiple. Because once you increase the fuel price, it's going to affect the prices of goods and services. Like as I'm standing here, I'm going back to Accra. So if let's assuming I didn't know about the increment, then I come to the station with my 75 Ghana cedis to pick a car. I get here, they tell me they've increased it to 90 cedis. How am I going to get that additional 15 cedis if I only have the transport money in my pocket?
Some of them say this new increase will definitely have a negative impact on their trading activities, as most of the goods they sell here is being brought in from Accra.
Because first I call Accra in and out 75 in and out 1.5 to 1.5 no normal na me fa no e na me de kakra to so se ebeboa and they say my bedroom no our masna to fair no normal are like in and out 1.5 say be do 1.8 it's eba sa na e de kwa tumatie ebeba me kono me bani me bajo ehaye chese ubeko Accra 90 cities in and out 180 cities akofa bag eba baba bedroom no because of lorry fare no obey say with the scam be the baba to so but obey one name na answer be good store price na be ma others no because lorry fare no me dey aka hono ntina ma me first one no me nya ne sa what you say and na nipa so beto me tomato bag 100 somebody nipa no nto wow me profit no lorry fare na me dey aka ho wow nti 75 na boa ye be we ne dey maintain ne dey e ka se be boa na e boa e mo akura lorry fare man increasing too much e mo me business here e nko so.
Chrysanthus calls on those in authority to be sincere to the citizenry and avoid being political with matters relating to fuel prices.
We've been hearing this for how long now? Every day it keeps increasing, almost every month. How many times have they increased the fuel prices? It will keep on going on. They only have to be sincere and frank about it to their citizenry, but not come and lie about the whole thing, and then they come and what they just want is what they do.
Both the managers of this terminal and the commuters have one simple plea. They are calling on authorities to have a way of ensuring that fuel prices are reduced significantly to ensure that they all stay in business.
I say can't be a day because Henry or check 80 cities, 90 cities in Onko, because we are going to made a brano. So no mobile phone call, none of my brana. If I better for come, I was when you I had a Juma. A bit me collapse Juma Kura, a bit of my Juma. It's a band yesterday, say, on no more now. This is a no Montes mine.
Yes, a timid magu because the member price 100 cents, and the price of cigar 50 cents. Because to be a mentor, no man boy because of price in amount the best money, a call from Scana Cofan, Mano, who in the back, who first was to end some a bassa, a bahaya, TSS, or Montesumay.
So this has been the situation here at the Techima VIP terminal. Reporting for Joy News, my name is Anas Sabit.
And here in the studio, my name is Ernest Minu. That's our package for today. Many thanks for your company. Find more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Up next is our latest hotline documentary, Mind Matters.